Stephen A. and all these other NBA media people that are not adding any type of context to why this is happening will say he's underachiever because he wasn't able to get another ring. But they don't say that about Dr. J. They don't say that about Moses Malone. They don't even Charles Barkley. They don't say that about Dirk Nowitzki. They don't say that about Kevin Garnett. And these are all-time great players. So I think it was a day ago. Stephen A. Smith says he would consider Giannis Antetokounmpo an underachiever if he doesn't win another ring. Now let me get the quotes. I want to make sure that I quote them right. Here's an article. Here we go. All right. So here's what he said. It says, when saying that he would be an underachiever, he said, it's not his fault. I'm not in any way pointing to him for what he's not doing. But you called him an underachiever.
Yeah, I'm about to, what?
Let me continue. He says more. I'm not saying you don't look at someone that dominant, that fantastic, with that kind of fire in his belly that competes on a night in and night out basis, and all you have is one championship to show for it. So I don't get it. He's got one postseason series in the last 4 years. He said it ain't his fault. He's been hurt a couple of times, but to know Giannis, his career is his accomplishments, his cachet, and to say one championship, nah. You definitely expect more than that. Yeah,
the same logic apply to Jokic though.
Here's my thing. So he says he would be an underachiever, but then in another breath he says, I'm not trying to say it's his fault. So what is it? You can't play both sides. Pick a side.
Like the term underachiever applies that it's kind of your fault. You didn't do better than what your expectation was.
Right.
So potential.
So here's my point. Stephen A. Smith. So he's calling Giannis an underachiever, the 15th overall pick in 2013. Remember, 2013, one of the worst drafts that we've seen in the past 25 years. Not a whole lot of depth that draft. Giannis was the 15th pick. Nobody thought that he was going to be this great player. Now, yeah, like when we looked at him, we were like, what is he? Like, we've never seen somebody like this before. But nobody thought he was going to be this all-time great player. He's able to develop and by year 4 be an all-NBA caliber player to eventual NBA champion, to a dominant player that we see
back-to-back MVP, back-to-back defensive player of the year. Like, come on.
So let me get this straight. From an individual standpoint, Giannis, look at this. He averaged 30 and 20 in 24-25, nearly 12 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 60% from the field. Look at 9 All-Stars, 9 All-NBAs, 5 All-Defensive, 2-time MVP. He was in the 70. He was on one of the. I think he was on the team for I think it was the 75th anniversary.
Yeah.
21 NBA champion, Finals MVP, in-season tournament MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved Player also. So that guy individually, he's an underachiever. But he's talking about team success. This is my problem with the ring culture discourse. It's the fact that a lot of the reasons why these players get rings, it's not in their control. It's the team. It's the organization that put these teams together. Michael Jordan won championships because the ownership, the management was able to put the right collection of talent and coaching to help Michael Jordan win. Michael Jordan didn't win until Scottie Pippen developed.
Same thing with Akeem. Same thing with Tim Duncan, the Spurs, Greg Popovich, all the same thing with the Heat. Same thing with it's all of this. A whole lot of it's like a numbers equation. It's like an equation. You can't just say, 9 + 1 means ring. Like, no, we gotta start putting fractions and letters into the equation because it's winning a championship is hard. Winning one is hard. Winning multiple is even harder. Like see this is what is my problem. The Steph and LeBron era of hoops. Actually, no, the Magic transition, the Bird to Magic to Jordan to Kobe to Bron to Steph transition of the league cooked people's perception on how hard it is to win a championship.
No context. There's exactly. No context behind
it. Like people just say, all the great players, they win multiple rings. Like, no, it is such anomaly. Like, bro, this is really the first. Okay, so let me get this straight. We are in the best individual era of basketball as far as talent wise. There's best talent around the league, but now it's a problem that the same dudes ain't winning rings, multiple rings. How that work? If this is the most talented era of basketball we've ever been in, how are we getting upset that multiple superstars aren't winning multiple rings? Like, how does that even work? It's silly.
This is the problem that I have with Stephen A's argument, man. Like, I get it. You want to say you're looking at the talent of Giannis and you're saying all time, like he should have multiple rings, but it's just not that easy. When you look at the upper management for the Bucks, they have failed Giannis. You can say, well, Giannis wanted this, coach. Well, Giannis wanted this. But even still, look how they drafted the past 5 years. Is that on Giannis? Who they're acquiring, is that on Giannis? Who they're trading for, is that on Giannis? Giannis didn't want Drew Holiday to eventually go to the Celtics. Like, come on now. Like, that's not on Giannis. That is on upper management not identifying what they need in order for Giannis to get another ring. Now, Giannis played a little bit of a part of it, but ultimately it comes down to the GM. It comes down to upper management identifying and understanding what they need going for the future, and they didn't do that. They didn't set themselves up, and now they're paying for it. And Giannis, he's stuck because if you look at the news, I think it was Windhorst that said that teams are expecting him to not be traded because the trade package is probably too much for them to give up assets for in order to acquire Giannis. So you have that situation to work with, and that's hard. So Giannis is going to be stuck in Milwaukee potentially.
It's going to be another down year because Dame done tore his Achilles, so he won't even be playing next year.
And because of that, Stephen A and all these other NBA media people that are not adding any type of context to why this is happening will say he's underachiever because he wasn't able to get another ring. But they don't say that about Dr. J. They don't say that about Moses Malone.
Charles Barkley.
They don't. Even Charles Barkley. They don't say that about Dirk Nowitzki. They don't say that about Kevin Garnett. And these are all-time great players. They just appreciate their greatness. While with Giannis, and this is another thing. This is another thing about the problem with the media is that while they're still playing, they just feel the need to disrespect these players.
You know, I think it's rich. I think it's rich that these media guys, these national media guys, don't talk a lick of Milwaukee basketball through the entire season. But then when the season is, all of a sudden Giannis is underachieving. If you was talking about the team throughout the regular season, you would see why he would be quote unquote underachieving. Look what they putting around him.
And you know what's crazy? This whole thing about Giannis underachieving, it makes me like over the years, obviously, I was a LeBron hater at one point in my life, but over time, as
gold, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm Team Bron."
But over time, once I started learning more about the game, once I started learning more about what it takes to win a championship, what pieces you need, just different variables that come into the equation in order to win a championship, I realized that a lot of the expectation, a lot of the criticism of LeBron is really out of his control. And people were being very unfair towards LeBron, especially when he left Cleveland during that time to go to Miami. And then ultimately he went back to Cleveland again. And then ultimately he went to LA. The same thing is being applied for Giannis. The same thing has been applied for a lot of other players that feel the need to leave their team in order to win a championship, besides Kevin Durant, of course, because that was just egregious. But with Giannis and with other players that are in the same boat as Giannis, that are all-time great, but just doesn't have the requisite talent around them and feel the need that they need to get away from their team in order to win a championship. This is an example of why people that are in the media, people that are talking about the game, don't know what they're talking about. And they're creating these criteria for what makes a great player, why this player is the greatest of all time, when in fact, Jordan was just lucky. Jordan was fortunate. Jordan was fortunate that he had an organization, that he had an owner that was willing to hire the right coach, fire the coach, and bring in the right coach in Phil Jackson. Was able to find a guy in Scottie Pippen that they can develop and ultimately be an all-time great player. was able to get Dennis Rodman, was able to get Horace Grant, was able to get all these role players that helped him win a championship.
Coach and all
Who
them, yeah.
coach? BJ Armstrong, Ron Harper. These are people that helped him win a championship. A lot of it is luck. A lot of it is the organization just not being dysfunctional. And that's just not the case for a lot of these players on these teams that go to bad organizations, that go to dysfunctional teams. That is just not the case. And when people finally understand that, I believe the discourse will be a lot better. I believe we can finally appreciate these players for what they are individually instead of the team overall. But that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen.
You would think these people would just get it based off the fact that there hasn't been a repeat winner since 2019.
Right.
But it's been literally over half a decade where we've seen a repeat champion, and these folks still don't get it that Bron and Steph and that those are not the norm.
You a lot of times great players are going to have to leave teams. They're going to have to go to other teams because the teams that they're drafted on aren't good enough.
Nope.
Upper management isn't good enough. The ownership isn't good enough to put a great collection of talent around them for multiple years. That's just not the case. And in Milwaukee's case, they had a nice 5-year run, but now Giannis needs to leave because he's not going to win with Milwaukee going forward.
Yep. And I think what we're going to see more going in the future with all this apron food stuff is that teams are going to start putting more emphasis on drafting and developing, because you can't just trade all these picks for a superstar or multiple superstars. You have to pay them, and you won't get picks taken from you if you get over that second apron. So you can't just pay. Oh, I'm gonna just trade all these picks, pay the luxury tax, and be fine. No, you have to draft and develop these players. So now I think we're going to start seeing a shift in teams not probably being a little more stingy with picks, which is probably why a Giannis trade isn't going to happen, because teams are like, well, we kind of need these picks because we can't really pay all these guys all this money. So teams are going to start being like, listen, we're going to have to get our scouting department right, analytics department. We're going to need to start really evaluating talent coming out of college, so we can build a roster and compete over these next few years.
Listen, the days of the Tim Duncans, the Kobes, the Dirks, those players staying with one team for 20 years, winning multiple rings, is pretty much over. It's very rare that you're going to see those type of players anymore, where they're able to win multiple rings for one franchise. Look at Kawhi. Look at LeBron. Look at all these players. Even D Wade, obviously, he stayed with Miami. LeBron was there. He was able to win an additional 2 rings. But it's going to be very rare to see a superstar player stay with one team and win multiple rings. And if they do that, kudos to them. But we know why they were able to do it. It's because upper management, ownership, GM, scouting, all great. But that's just not the case for majority of franchises. Look at LeBron. Look what he's doing right now. He was able to win that 1 ring in the bubble, and then
hasn't gotten. He
hasn't even gotten
conference finals.
They got into the conference finals in a week west. Let's keep that in mind. In a week west, he hasn't been back to the finals since. Why? Because upper management just isn't all that good. It's not good enough. We have to realize what's going on in the NBA. We cannot just think that it's so simple in the fact that if this player is great, if this individual player is great, everything will be good. No, it's other things that need to be taken into equation for why this player was able to win multiple rings for one franchise. It's not that simple.
But you can literally look at the previous winners and see that they had homegrown talent. Like, I know the Celtics, they made a bunch of trades to get like Porzingis to get a Drew Holiday. But Jason Tatum homegrown, Jaylen Brown homegrown, Peyton Pritchard, who gave good minutes off the bench, he was homegrown. And
Luke
like
Cornett.
The year before that, who?
Luke Cornett.
Yeah, Luke Cornett.
They're backup big.
So, and then you look at the who won the year before that? Was that the Nuggets?
Nuggets.
Nuggets. Obviously, Jokic, Murray.
And Murray.
Like those, Bruce Brown. I believe he was homegrown in Denver. Then he left after. But yeah, like you got to have the homegrown guys.
It's not that easy. It's not that easy.
Yeah.
And
And the
if you
Warriors
remember,
year before that, I know they had obviously Steph and Clay homegrown, and Draymond. But then the newer guard, Jordan Poole, was homegrown, and he had some big moments in that final series. So you gotta draft, you gotta develop.
it's not easy. It's not easy.